Yes, it is true. The Black Ace Hockey Podcast is back in action. My name is Blaine Adams. I'm right here as always with your co-host Nick Jenkins. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? We are still recovering from a fun weekend in Erie, Pennsylvania. Um, Nice to get all the boys together, right? You came to town, Germ came to town, CJ came to town, Scholzy too. Um,
Schulze was
it's
there in
it's
spirit.
Scholzy was there, but only for about 20 minutes, and then we
All right.
lost him.
Yep.
It's we don't get the boys together too often anymore, so I enjoy it every time we can.
Yeah, it was fun, man. I think the occasion was a little bit of a downer up there, but I think overall the game and the game itself wasn't that bad. Getting to see the Otters play, but I would say like we could jump into it real quick and then kind of back out, but the whole ceremony. So those of you who don't know, McDavid got his jersey retired up in Erie. He played his junior hockey there. For those that are not even in tuned with hockey, um, only three people have ever been retired in the Erie Otters history, and they also honored the late Jim Waters. Jim
Yep.
Jim
Jim
Waters,
Waters. Yeah.
the old owner. That tragically passed away this past year. So kind of wrapped in everything into that one night. And I think overall it was more of like a ceremony for like the family and then the Otters itself. I wouldn't say it was as much as McDavid ceremony. Um, Even like the things they gave him were kind of weird. Like the painting. I'm sure it's like an inside thing with like the old owner, Jim, the new owner, and then Connor. But like just like seeing it, like usually somebody maybe get a big picture of like Connor and have everybody he played with like into one picture or like,
hmm
and then maybe like a bigger trophy. They gave him like this little small trophy. Now they did mention it was like made in his hometown, but they made it crucial to say it took over 33 hours to make.
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
need I don't need to know that tidbit. Like that has nothing to do with anything. But they had to put it in there to make sure like it like adds a little extra gusto because of how small it was, I
Right.
think. So what are your thoughts around it?
Yeah, I mean, when they scheduled this night, obviously they didn't intend for it to be a sort of hybrid Connor McDavid and remembrance of Jim Waters ceremony. Jim sadly passed away only a couple months ago here, um, and it was sudden, but I think they wrapped it all together in a good way. They had the family there. The daughters stepped up and spoke, and it was nice. It's never easy to handle those situations, but I think they
Right.
did it in a good way. Um, yeah, it was. I don't understand the painting either. I don't know that I ever will. Hopefully Connor does,
Yeah.
but the
It has to be an
the
inside
whole
thing. It has to.
it has to be. There's got to be something tied to it with it. I don't know if it's tied to his hometown or what, but
And if people didn't see, I don't know if there was any pictures of it going around social media. It was just like a in like an ODR rink with a couple guys like playing hockey, and there's a barn in the background. Even like on the
right,
jumbotron, like I don't know if people ever heard of maybe rehearse once or twice before, so you can get the camera like not to like blind people when you zoom in on things,
right.
but they couldn't get it to show right in the jumbotron, so like nobody really knows what it was.
hmm
So I guess keep that in mind when we that's what we mentioned by like the painting.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I think in general it was a nice ceremony. It went on for seemingly forever.
Took forever.
It was like 45 minutes long, and it was like, okay, this is great. love it. Let's get on with the game.
Yeah.
And even Connor recognized that. He made a comment. He's like, all the players were kneeling on the ice for the
Yeah.
45 minutes, and Connor stepped up to the podium last, and he's like, "Boys, I know your legs are probably killing you, so I'll be short."
Yeah.
Like you kept seeing him switch legs. It's like, oh, I feel bad for the players. Like should have like told them to stay on the benches or something instead of be kneeling on the ice. But
Right.
no, it was nice. The honor was always coming for McDavid. It was just a matter of time. I guess a little bit surprised at how soon it happened. I don't know if they felt now was the time to
Right.
try to capture it based on a business decision or what. But yeah, I don't know. It was a nice ceremony for sure. He deserves all of the recognition he gets and what he did for Erie and kept the team in town. And he was a cornerstone player and a huge draw. So yeah, congratulations to McDavid, and uh, I'm sure we'll see another 97 going up to the rafters for his NHL team in 20 years or so here.
Yeah. I think I mean, as far as junior teams go, you always have to remember if you're good, you're usually only there for like 1 or 2 years, and then you're out like
Mm-hmm.
either semi-pro, pro, or now you can even go to the college levels. But um, you just kind of have to think. There's only so many bonds you can make, and only so many memories you can make in those 2 3 years. So it's mainly just for like the billet families and the owners, and those are the people that this 15, 16-year-old kid, like he said, came from Canada, came from a different country, come down to the USA to play. And like these older guys and this family took him in and just kind of welcomed him with open arms. And as he was saying, just he owes everything to his billet family, just to kind of keep him sane, keep him humble, and in that sort of state he was in while he was kind of still trying to figure out how to grow up. And yeah, um, it's cool to see. Like you said, it's a strange time because he had to get out of there. Literally, he left after the first period, right? That's what people were saying. So, because he had a game in Chicago the next day, so it's kind of like bad timing mixed with horrible events of last year for the organization.
I feel like and maybe we could talk about this a little bit. Maybe it's too early. Why? I don't know that I fully understand the timing of the whole thing.
Yeah.
If you probably could have made it a bigger deal if you would have waited until he retired from playing hockey, because then he would have had the time to dedicate to, sticking around, taking pictures with fans, signing autographs, whatever, and then maybe he would have appreciated it a little bit more. I'm not saying he doesn't appreciate it; obviously he does, but it might be a little more sentimental if you've reached the end of your playing career and you go all the way back to where it started at juniors and saying, holy crap, I meant so much to this organization. This organization meant so much to me and my growth as a player in person.
Yeah.
Rather than I got to play in Pittsburgh, I got to rush up north to Erie,
Right.
go through this ceremony, and then get on a PJ to Chicago to play the next day. Like it all just feels a little bit rushed, and maybe he didn't have the time
Yeah.
to appreciate everything that was going on. You know what I mean?
They were a bit eager. They were a bit horny for the old banner to get out there. But then again, it's 10 years, right?
Yeah.
What I think my rule of thumb is, I think of high school reunions, right? Technically that was his high school, right? I don't know if he ever graduated. Probably didn't. I wouldn't. But
He graduated high school. Yes, he's got a degree from the
the
High School.
McDowell High School. And but when does your high school reunion happen? 20 years? 25 years? You don't want to do it too soon to where it's I just saw you. Nothing has changed. To where you want to
Right.
give it enough time for something crazy to happen. Now he did win MVP a gajillion times, and his one scoring titles a gajillion times, but to him, nothing has changed. That was he's been doing that every year since he was born, just like
Hmm.
scoring title every year. So I don't know, maybe wait till he wins the cup, or if he doesn't win the cup, like maybe 25 years, like that good point. Um, because I was gonna ask you, like, when do people get their jersey retired? Because obviously we look at somebody like McDavid or Connor Bedard, right? He's probably gonna get his jersey retired just because like he was number one, or Lafreniere
Hmm.
was probably gonna get his jersey retired because he was number one. Jack Hughes, same thing. So when's like a good time moving forward for the GMs that listen to us to know like, hey, let's put this guy's jersey up into the rafters?
For all the GMs that are
Yeah,
listening today that are making these hard decisions,
right.
I mean, I don't know that there's like a good rule of thumb. I think it all depends on the player, and maybe the impact isn't felt for a while. So the first person that comes to mind that is, his jersey's not retired, and it very well should be, especially in Pittsburgh, and I expect it will be at some point. Is oh God, um,
Yamir,
no, his jersey's retired. Didn't they do that whole ceremony?
did they? Oh, I think they did last year. Yeah, yeah. Because that was bobblehead night when
Now you've got me questioning myself.
when Yamir Yager stole all the bobbleheads.
Pre-game, yes, they retired his jersey.
Yeah, okay. That's
Um,
what I thought. I'm just guessing.
now I completely lost my train of thought.
W.
Um,
That's why I'm here. I'm always here to confuse you.
you you really just screwed me all up.
Like
I don't know.
Are you talking like Kunitz or like?
Oh yeah, yeah. Obviously, Kunitz's
I don't
jersey's
think
gone
his
up in the rafters.
jersey will ever get retired. He's not that. He's not that guy. He's not that guy, pal. He's just not.
Okay, I can think of three players, maybe four, that are still active that are going to have their jerseys retired in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And I think probably, they're going to be anxious to retire Crosby. That's going to be like the,
They're
the
gonna be
obvious one,
way
right?
too horny to retire that one.
They're going to be like, Crosby, when are you retiring? Because we're literally going to schedule it for the next
The
day.
next year, yeah.
Um, Fleury's going to be the next one. I think for everything that he's done, he's won 3 cups in Pittsburgh. He was with the organization for how many years? 15 years, something like that. Um, and then the other ones are probably going to be Malkin and Letang. They've also got three
So many
cups. They've been
numbers.
with
See,
the
like
team.
I don't know if you can retire the tanks. I think you can put him in
See,
the Hall of Fame, but I don't think you can retire it.
he's a borderline one for me. I think Malkin's a definite. Um, Letang's on the cusp for me. I wonder if they're going to consider it at least, but I don't know that it actually gets retired or
Yeah.
not.
I mean, you have to think about like if you start retiring everybody that was ever good, like you're gonna
Yeah.
run out of numbers eventually. People are gonna rock out like 64 or like 62 or like 79, like stuff like that. Like you're just rocking crazy numbers.
I was thinking about that the other day actually. Like, where do you draw the line at retiring somebody's jersey so that you get to that point where you're like, oh my god, we've retired 40 numbers in this organization. You're gonna have to
Right.
wear number. You're gonna have, like you said, you're gonna have to wear number 63.
Yeah. So I think there's events that happen during the organization that you have the ability to retire a jersey, like tragic deaths, like something like Johnny Gaudreau, probably going to
Yep.
retire his jersey, right? So like
Mhm.
stuff like that, I think causes people to instantly like no matter what, like that number is going up.
Right.
Or if you're like the guy, like Lemieux, literally saved the team, saved the team.
Hmm.
Like he was always going up, and you know, household names. I don't think you can put like I don't think Jack Hughes would ever go up. Like he's good, Don't get
I
me
feel like that's
wrong.
way too early to call. Like, what happens
I
if Jack Hughes
but
just
like
starts going off?
he's good. He's not great. Like Matthews, he's good. He's not great.
You don't think Matthews' number is going to
I
get retired
don't.
for the
I
Leafs
don't.
eventually?
I don't.
Wow, that's a
Like
hot
it's
take.
like Mitch Marner. Like he's good, not great. Because like you start retiring all these jerseys, like they haven't won anything. They're just hockey players right now. Like cool, you won some goal award. Okay. Like I couldn't name you the last person that won any awards besides McDavid. Like that's it. That's all I care about because that's all I know because he's that good. Like like
Wow,
I
man.
don't I don't know. It's tough for me to like retire a jersey. Like you have to be like a Greek god. You have to change the game. Connor McDavid comes in. The guy is 9 miles faster than anybody out there. He's just that much faster. You know, like that Ram Dodge pickup truck when you're going on the highway and like you're going like 5 miles over, but this guy's like, like going 90. Like
All
that's
right,
McDavid.
all right. There's a couple of names that come to mind, and I'm just gonna shoot these names at you, and I want you to just yes or no, no
Okay.
explanation. Do
Top of
you
the
think
dome.
this person's jersey is gonna get retired?
Okay.
Yes or no? Two guys from Tampa Bay, or no, I'll name three names from Tampa Bay.
Okay.
Stamkos,
Yes.
Kucherov,
No.
okay, Hedman.
Russian. I don't think a Russian is gonna get retired. Hedman. Yes.
Is that
It's a
racist?
hot.
You don't think a
It's
Russian's gonna get retired?
I don't think because it's so hot right now. It would have to take like who the hell didn't like Datsuk just like get like reacquainted with the NHL like literally like this past year.
Yes.
So like see what I mean? Like
I
it's so hot. Like most of these Russians when they retire they go back to the KHL. So it's like
for sure, yeah. Okay, I got two more that I want your opinion on
okay.
because based on the yeses and nos you're saying, I have no idea how you're going to answer.
Okay.
Okay, Edmonton, Drysaitel.
Tough.
Ooh, he's
Tough.
thinking on this one.
Tough.
He's
That's a
thinking on
tough
this
one.
one.
Um, that's a tough one because
What?
I don't know.
Just
Like
go with what
without
your gut says.
McDavid, what would he be?
He's done it with that. When McDavid's been hurt a couple of times, he's still gotten it done, and they play on different lines sometimes.
I would say yes.
Okay. Okay, I agree
It's a
with that
tough
for
one.
sure.
It's a tough
But
one though. I would go back and forth on it.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
And the only other one that I'm curious how you would say, and I think I know what you're going to lean based on what you just said, is it's a player who's not active anymore.
Okay.
Backstrom in Washington.
Ooh, I don't know. I see. Like, I don't know what he did outside the rink. If he did like a ton outside the rink, which is tough to do in Washington D.C. because there's so much going on, I would say yes. But
Okay.
because the guy made his career passing to Ovi, I think he's gonna be the best speech at Ovi's banner raising. So I would say
Fair
no.
enough.
I would say no. That's
Fair
a
enough.
tough one. That's so tough.
I feel like they probably will just because he was around for the whole Ovi era, and he was
Right,
such a
yeah.
big part of that team, and they won their Stanley Cup under him, and I think he probably does get it done, but I think he's probably one of those guys who is on that borderline, right? Like if he had bounced around, if you just look at his talent,
Right.
and if he had bounced around to other teams, he wouldn't have a jersey retired. But because of the impact he had on one organization, I think he will have his jersey retired. That's the way I see Backstrom.
It's a weird topic because like you can justify Kunitz in Pittsburgh, you can justify Maxine Talbot, like literally the guy that
Yeah.
won us the cup. Like you could justify like so many other people. It's just like when I think of like a jersey retirement, like you have to be the guy. Like
Right.
even like high school, like Ryan Malone's USC jersey is retired in Pittsburgh because like he was the guy at that school. Like he still is, right? Like nobody's like ever touched that so far. And but he would never get his jersey retired in the NHL because he's not that guy. So it's tough. I mean, it's a great question. I think a lot of people have different opinions, and especially like people in Philly love their own opinion and they love themselves so much that when Cutter Gauthier,
Gauthier.
whatever
Gauthier,
it
yeah.
is, came back into town, they had a lot of chants queued up for him. It, I mean, I've never loved Philly. I've always hated Philly, but these chants are gold, especially because they have Jamie Drysdale. Or no,
Hmm.
no, it was they. He went to Anaheim, right? Cutter, no,
Yes,
Cutter's on Anaheim. Went to
Cutter got
Philly.
traded to Anaheim. He
Yes,
was drafted by Philly, and he said he wouldn't play for them because they wouldn't move him up quick enough.
right,
So he got traded to Anaheim, and they got Drysdale in return.
right.
That's how that worked.
And then Jamie's better chance started popping off, and also an ex Erie Otter, so it's good to see him flourishing.
Hmm.
But yeah, I thought those clips were kind of fun, and they got just pumped. Dude, I think it was like 6-0 that game too. I'm sure Philly
Yep.
loved that game.
You're you know Philly fans, as soon as that trade happened, they pulled out their calendar and they circled that game and said, "We are going to ruin this
Right.
kid. We're going to go into this barn. We're going to be loud and obnoxious, and we're going to ruin this kid."
Yep.
And obviously, it worked because they blew the wheels off those Ducks. And you could argue that with the situation Philly is in right now, they've got Michkov, they've got some young talent in there. Their goaltending sucks, but the rest of the team is sort of up and coming. Maybe that's a better situation for Gauthier to be, and maybe he's thinking, maybe I should have just stuck it out. But
Well,
I
it's that new age confidence. Like some of these guys, like when you're so good in college, like you don't
mhm,
really know what's coming for you at the next level. You're like, oh, hey, like
yeah,
freaking first line, of course, man. Like, yeah, I'm not playing unless I'm drafted here, like all these football people do. And these NHL guys are like, brother, like we can send you to the Swiss League and never see you again. I don't
yeah,
care. So like,
yeah,
it's saying, look at Rutger McGroarty. Like he thought he was doing the same thing. Like, oh, got drafted by the Jets. Now he's on Pittsburgh. Put him in the first couple weeks and had like 0 points. So like,
mhm,
you have to give yourself time. Like Casey Middlestat played in Buffalo, just got absolutely shat on, and then switched over to Colorado or went down to the A for a while,
yeah,
then went to Colorado, and now he's good. Like it takes time. Like Jack Hughes wasn't made in a day. If anything, in recent years, look at Crapo Kako. That man, I I can't even like describe his first couple of years in the NHL. Absolutely the worst. Worse than Laughlin trash. And now he's Laughlin good. So like you just have to let these guys develop, and it me to my next segue here. Kako is actually doing better in Seattle. It's like
mhm,
all the stress from New York Rangers fans and the like pretty much the NHL world. Just like, all right, I could just be myself now because everybody's already counting me out. It's kind of like
yeah,
the hungry dog runs faster. Like
mhm,
now he can actually like get back to the way he used to play.
yeah. Yeah, I do think there's something to be said about some of these big market teams. Like Toronto's obviously the worst, but the Rangers are definitely one place. Like playing in Madison Square Garden, there's a pressure that comes with that.
Yeah.
And, that's probably a factor. He really didn't ever see minutes with the top guys. He was always kind of this third line guy with the Rangers. And they moved on from him. They sent him to Seattle, and he has popped off in Seattle. He's got a bunch of points in a short time span already for the Kraken. So maybe they throw him into that top line role, and he reaches his potential. I'll say of what they thought they were getting when they drafted him second overall. I think it was.
Yeah, because when the New Jersey Devils drafted Jack Hughes, the Rangers fans were celebrating. So it's just a tough look overall. Tough look. I don't want to beat up too much on the Rangers because we did that
Yeah,
last pod. So
they still suck.
yeah, it's
They
just
they
brutal.
took my money on Saturday, but they still suck.
They always take my money. Um, the other thing that happened this past week is the PWHL, kind of the traveling band in the hockey world, stopped over into Denver, and I don't know if you saw the clips, but they had a packed house in there. I don't know if they organized that or if that was like a weekend before, but I'd say they did a better marketing job than the Winter Classic.
Absolutely,
19,000 fans, Jenks.
absolutely, that
I,
was better marketed.
I don't know how you do that for a PWHL. Although I will say I'm very ignorant because there's not a Pittsburgh team, so
Yeah.
I don't know if like Toronto, I'm sure has like the best market for it, but
hmm So Pittsburgh actually, it's funny you brought that up. Pittsburgh is on the early list for the next PWHL expansion. So they are keeping Pittsburgh on
maybe we'll bring
on
back the
tabs for
Pittsburgh
that.
Forge.
Was that actually a thing?
That was a junior team. I think it was like the NA3 before the NA3 was the NA3. You know what I mean?
So bring them back and make them the Pittsburgh
Pittsburgh
Forge,
Forge,
but
yeah,
PWHL. Yeah, that'd
yeah.
be kind of cool. I don't know what it is. I think there have been a couple of women's leagues that they've tried to start. They've eventually merged, and over the last several years, and I don't think any of them got the traction that the current format is getting. I think the PWHL has the right leaders in place, and they're actually marketing these games very well. They're getting
Right.
very good attendance compared to some of the other iterations of this women's hockey league.
I think
And
women's
it's
sports in general too. You know,
oh
it's like you
yeah,
look at basketball. It doesn't do as well unless you have the one superstar there. So
well then people would make fun of the WNBA for years and years and years, and then Caitlin Clark became a thing, and now people are actually watching the WNBA. It's
right.
it's this whole mindset change because of one player. Um, but the PWHL is doing really well. They're getting good ratings. They're getting good attendance. There's people watching these games, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. Any exposure for hockey, I don't care if it's men's, women's, international, North American, doesn't matter. Any
Yeah.
exposure for hockey is a good thing, and an avenue for the best women in the world to have a league to play is just good for the game. So people showed up in Denver. They 19,000 strong. That's a huge attendance. It shows that people care and people want to watch these women play. So I think it's great. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, and I liked how you touched on they got the right people in place. Like they're not trying to just explode the league, as in like, oh, let's put everybody in all the markets. They're like, all right, let's start
Right.
with a few, and then kind of like the same way you build any league, right? You start with six, you start with eight,
Yep.
whatever. So I'm sure like as the years go by, we'll see more and more, or we'll see like
Mm-hmm.
a standard like 12, and then go from there. I think they're doing it right as slow and steady wins the race, and they're not trying to outpace their sales. Because
Yep.
at the end of the day, it is a business, and they have to be profitable to stay in business. That's
That's right.
why the other women's hockey league shut down because they ran out of money. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, congrats to all the girls that are the women that are involved in that. I know it's fun to see that, and hopefully some of them break into either roles in coaching for the NHL. We've seen that this past couple of years. So good luck to that adventure. And another adventure is the ACHA Universidad. Look at that Spanish, Jenks. Games have opened up in Turin, Italy. I think Turin.
Yep.
Turan, whatever it
Tur-
is.
yeah, go with
Turbin?
Turin. I think it's Turin, but yeah, just
Okay.
go with it.
Yeah.
The Olympics were there at one point, but
I did not know that. But what a way for a college kid to just, go over there. Italy? During what? The New Year break? I think that's pretty sick.
tough
Um,
life.
but hopefully the USA, what did you say, tough flight?
Tough life they've got having to go to Italy to play hockey. Jeez, man, just
I
brutal.
I looked at the roster, like a majority of them are from like Minnesota. I think like over half are from Minnesota. I thought that was funny. I'm like, oh yeah, so that tracks. That tracks.
Bunch of boys from Boston and Minnesota,
Yeah, so
as they say in the Miracle.
yeah, good luck to the boys in Turin, Italy for the USA. Hopefully they just absolutely dominate. I can't imagine us losing to like a Canadian university team like that. I feel like that would hurt our brand.
I really don't know enough about this tournament. I think it's awesome that there's a platform for the non-Division One guys to
Have fun.
I'll say the best of the rest to have fun and go compete. I think
Yeah.
that's awesome.
I wonder even how you try out for that. Like, do you think they just like select the top like the top 20?
Well, I think I would imagine they probably select like 50 guys, and then they've got like a weekend tryout, and then they
Damn.
probably bring 20 with them.
Yeah.
You gotta have some way to assess the talent. You can't just go around the ACA. There's like 150 teams. Could you
Right.
imagine scouting 150 teams to pick a team for one tournament?
That would
Just
murder
be like,
me.
take the top 50 scorers in the league, put them together for a weekend, pick 20 guys, and go.
That would kill me. My brain cells would be gone. But yeah, good luck to everybody over there, and we're rooting for you, and we'll follow along and update everybody next week as games start to happen. And we're about midway through the hockey season in general. High school and travel is kind of winding down towards this time, but the NHL's in full swing, so it's a fun thing we like to do. And Jenks is Mr. Nostradamus of the podcast, so we're gonna kick it off with him. And Jenks, I want to hear your midseason predictions that are gonna land people either on top or who's gonna be in dead last.
So who's going to be on top? I think the dead last conversation is probably easier. The Eastern Conference is so clogged up right now. We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. So let's just go to who's going to finish dead last. We're halfway through the season, and I really think it's a two-team race. I mean, you could argue Nashville's in the conversation to finish last. I think they're probably going to finish strong and probably get up about 10 spots, but probably come short of the playoffs. Dead last is going to be San Jose or Chicago, and it's just going to become who wants it more.
Okay.
At this point, San Jose probably has more young talent than Chicago. Chicago is Bedard on an island, and that's it. So who deserves the number one pick? Probably Chicago. But San Jose is only 2 points ahead of them right now with one more game played. So it's really either team is still in it. My bet for who's going to finish dead last is Chicago. What are your thoughts on last place?
See, I look at the last place and I'm like, all right, Chicago, I think they're gonna play like hard, like the whole time. Like you're not gonna go into play Chicago and they're gonna like roll over on me. They're not dead, right? Connor Bedard will always play, and I think just from him skating fast and working hard will bring everybody along with him the rest of the way. And I also like Nick Foligno, Taylor Hall. They're probably gonna want to like keep everybody in good spirits, like not be like, all right, guys, like let's just make sure we're doing fundamentals. They're gonna be like, no, like look at our leaders, look at what Connor's doing, like let's follow him. Now I look at a team like Buffalo, and I couldn't tell you who's the leader. There's Tage Thompson, not sure why he's still around. Their
Jeez.
their owner
Wow.
came and he's like, oh, we believe in you, but not really. Um, like he said that, and they went out and just got absolutely pumped. So like I don't really know what's going on. They need to get somebody in there to just have a pep talk once or twice, maybe, or maybe a team therapist in there to just get some feelings out.
Oh,
I
there you
don't
go.
know what they need, but I think the last three teams are going to outpace the Buffalo Sabres to the top of the leaderboard. So Buffalo is going dead last for me because I just hate Buffalo.
Wow. Okay.
I hate them.
I wasn't expecting that. That's an off the board pick because they're, if I look at the whole league standings, they are, I guess they're fourth from last right
Yeah, they're
now.
right there.
Yeah, I guess fair
A
enough.
couple games swing and they're done. But I also don't
They've been on
want
a couple
another
losing
good
skids.
player to go to Buffalo. Like if the first overall draft pick goes to Buffalo, I will never forgive myself. But
Well,
they're gonna mess it up and
you
draft another D man. They're gonna mess it
you
up.
just you just willed it into existence by picking them.
They're
So
gonna be like,
it,
oh, we don't want forwards. We want another first overall D man. Like, oh, okay, yeah,
yeah, they're gonna take Matthew Schaefer from the Otters because he's the greatest.
right, yeah. And then all of a sudden you can't pay anybody. Your whole defensive core makes more money than your top forward line.
They're paying every defenseman on that team $8 million a year.
Yeah.
Every
Right.
one of them.
Like it's stupid. 8x8s around, just handing them
Yeah,
out.
they're all on 8x8s.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever. But all right, give me the other side of the coin. Who's going number one, winning the President's Trophy?
President's Trophy is really hard to pick.
Okay.
There are currently, as we talk right now, there are currently three teams tied for first place in the NHL with 61 points: the Vegas Golden Knights, the Washington Capitals, and the Winnipeg Jets.
Mm-hmm.
I keep hearing people saying the Washington Capitals are for real. And I keep looking at that team on paper
Have you looked?
and
Yeah.
saying, how?
I
They,
say the same thing.
this is like they cryogenically froze 20-year-old Ovi, and he came back and he's potting Genos at the record pace that he's never done before. This is insane. Um, Capitals are making the playoffs in my book. They're not finishing first.
Right.
So it comes down to really Winnipeg or Vegas for me. I think the way that Vegas has turned it on lately is going to be really hard to compete with. Winnipeg's got arguably the best goalie in the NHL right now with Hellebuck.
Yeah.
He's been fantastic the last couple of years. He's having another really good season this year. But Vegas has just turned it on as a team, and they've got most of their team healthy at this point. They're getting good goaltending, and they're playing really, really well. They've been one of the best teams in the NHL over the last few seasons. They've obviously got a Stanley Cup recently. I just don't see any weaknesses in this roster, and I think as long as they can stay healthy, I think this team is going to be the President's Trophy winners this year. That's my pick for who's finishing first as we hit the halfway mark here of the season.
I mean, I think you touched on it. Winnipeg is just they're regular season champions all the time. Regular season champions, and then first round they just get swept like 9-0 like every game. I think Hellebuck just shuts it off. I don't know. Maybe he's scared of something. We might be seeing the reincarnation of Carey Price. I don't know. But I do think Winnipeg is gonna win the regular season. Just cause every time we play Winnipeg, I only think of just Yeti giants. That's what I think about. Just absolute behemoths. Like you go up to Mississauga, you're like, Christ, gotta play like these monsters from like a fish town that nobody knows. Just like going over to Altoona, like, oh Christ. These guys eat raw meat for breakfast, like just disgusting animals. They're just behemoths. So they put something in the water in Winnipeg. They put something in the water in all these places, and think that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna take the President's Trophy home. I do think Washington, though. I looked at the roster this morning. When Dylan Strome is your center on PP1, I it just doesn't make sense. Like, I get it. He's good. He's not great. He's medium good. I don't.
Medium.
He's like the guy, like when your two-star players are hurt, you're like, all right, kid, like give it a shot. Like, I don't know. I don't
He's also over a point per game this year. He's got 46 points in 43 games.
We talked about Backstrom. Like, when you pass the Ovi, he just goes in. Like,
Is this just Dylan Strome filling the Backstrom role now that Backstrom's no longer with the team?
100%. I saw a few video or images online, just like, what's that one meme of like, this guy died so we can survive, or so that he can thrive, or whatever, you know, like that Backstrom to Dylan Strome. But yeah, he laid the groundwork pretty much. So I don't know what Washington's gonna do. I'm too scared to say they're good because it depends. Play them in the playoffs. I'm gonna have to retract that statement and say they're awful. So I'm never gonna say they're good. But yeah, it's crazy what they're doing over there in DC, both on the ice and off the ice. So kind of on a lighter note, little different conversation to end the podcast. What? When you walk into a ice arena, call it a barn, and you're like, you walk in, you're like, damn, this is a nice establishment, like right from the get-go. Like, what needs to happen for Jenks? Like, once you step in, before you get to the ice.
You know, it's like it's weird. The first thing that like I look at is how well is the barn lit.
Yes.
If you walk in there and it's like you can barely see across the ice because it's so dark. Yeah. Like they're just not replacing lights in there because they don't have the money to do it.
The one's like blinking.
Yeah, it smells like propane from the Zamboni. Like, we all remember being in these rinks as youth hockey players, and you walk in and like you're like, "Oh my god!"
Water.
Yeah. Don't drink the water. Why does the water taste weird, Dad?
Yeah, it's extra spicy today or something.
That's just the pipes rusting. You'll be fine. Suck it up.
Don't worry, tetanus runs in the family.
But that's the first thing I look at is like, is the arena well lit? And then from there, it's like, you know, do they like keep the place clean? Like, are there holes in the mats?
Nothing worse than stepping out on the rink and like having to dodge the giant hole like as you step out. That's the worst.
Oh man, it's horrible. And everybody's been to rinks where like the benches, just chunks missing out of the mats everywhere, all over.
Or like,
and then
the stanchion has like the metal part.
I was gonna say, some of the benches, they even have that metal piece hanging out, and you step on that, and you're like, well, I'm useless the rest of the game now.
Yeah.
So you can pretty much get a vibe of a rink after walking inside it and just looking around for about 5 seconds. You're like, okay, this place is decent, or like, oh my god, we shouldn't be here right now.
All right, this place sucks.
Like, somebody's gonna take off their skate and stab me with it.
Right. I think for me, it's like once I see like the main desk, it's like a main desk combo of skate rental. I'm like, all right, like they're not serious. Like they're just like, or like when you go and ask like, hey, where are the locker rooms? They're like, somewhere back there. Like, what do you mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't know anything about this place. Or like, if I can't find where my locker room is, like, or like what time the game is or who's playing, like the game board within like the first 5 seconds of opening the front doors, that's when you know you're in trouble. And I think like for me, the biggest thing is the lighting. If like the best investment a rink can do is just put as many lights as possible. I want it to be blinding almost. because I just can't stand like just a dim, dark, like I can see my shadow on the ice type of vibe. Like I don't. I just want to punch somebody. Like, dude, like all these people pay what 3, 4, 5 grand a piece to play hockey here, and we're still using fluorescents up there.
Yep.
What are
Yep.
just switch them out? Like, let me do it. Pay me 2 grand. I'll get all the LEDs up. Like, I don't know.
You can almost tell, like when you're on the road at a youth hockey is travel hockey. When you're on the road and you walk into a rink, the rink almost tells you what the team's going to be like. Like dark, dingy, nasty rink. You're like, my kid's going to get hurt tonight.
My kid's going to the hospital.
Yeah. So these guys are going to be so dirty.
Yeah.
And then you walk into like a gorgeous rink, like the Lemieux Center, where the Pens elite players play. You walk into there, you're like, we're going to lose 11-0. Yeah. These kids are all going to be good. You can just tell what kind of team you're playing from the barn they play in.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, it's high value people go to high value rinks, and you know, like if you want to like have that elevated sort of not values, but personnel, you gotta attract people one way, and that is, hey, maybe we clean the bathroom 2 times an hour. I don't know. Maybe put a washcloth on something. Maybe get one of those doors with the like, so you don't have to touch it. You could just like scoop your arm in it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
The arm scooper door handle. Although I am afraid of like when I put my arm in there, if like somebody's gonna open it and just my arm just like snaps in half. Like that's my one fear. That's like I don't know what's going on, but yeah. I think it's pretty cool. Like to like go into different barns around, especially Western PA, and when you travel, like see what things are like. And because like Florida, I've been to a few rinks out in Cali for inline when I was nasty, and
back in the
they
day,
they had like 5 rinks. Yeah, back 19,000 years ago, they had like 5 rinks, and it was all like the single pane glass boards. It wasn't actual boards. Like, I think those are pretty cool, but it's also scary because you're like, all right, where am I right now? So it's kind of crazy. But what day is it? 14th. All right, guys, we're gonna do writing on the wall pick, favorite section of the podcast. We're gonna do Saturday. Let me see what day it is. The 18th of January. Deep into winter months here. Full slate of games. Almost everybody's playing. Jenks, what's your writing on the wall pick, man?
So I'm a little bit disappointed because this is a game that I originally had earmarked to be interested to go see. And the schedule's just not going to work out. I looked at this early in the season and I said, ooh, this would be a fun game to go to. But the Pens go to Washington on Saturday. Okay, we've got 2 superstars, generational players, sort of in the twilight of their careers, right?
Possible still playing. Other Russian coming back too. Possible. That's the rumor, man.
Well, maybe there's possible. There's these 2 guys. Their days are numbered. They're still playing really well right now. Don't get me wrong, but their days in the NHL are numbered. And the number of matchups they're going to get left are numbered. You know, the Ovi versus Sid thing's been a thing for 20 years now, and we've been lucky to watch it. And I would love to see it in person one more time. So, unfortunately, I'm not going to be at the game. We just talked about how the Capitals are this dominant team this year, and I still can't, for the life of me, figure out just how. I just keep looking at the team.
I think they just want Ovi to win.
That's it. They said we're getting another one for Ovi. We're going to get him this title. We're going to get another cup. We're going to get him the scoring title, and then he's going to sail off into the sunset.
Right.
I'm taking the Pens.
Oh my God.
can't in
On
good
a
faith.
2-game losing streak. Oh no.
No, we're fine.
Yeah.
I can't in good faith continue to look up and down the Washington Capitals depth chart and say that's a team I'm afraid of. I just can't do it. I know how good they're doing this year. I know Ovi's breaking records. I know all this stuff.
You
But
do.
the depth chart just doesn't support it. And I'm throwing a little bit of cash on the Pittsburgh
Ooh.
Penguins to beat the Washington Capitals in D.C. on Saturday, the 18th of January.
Responsibly, of
So
course.
bet responsibly, folks.
That's a good pick. I don't know. I mean, I went to the game this past weekend when they played Ottawa, and they just got pumped. Just not even a close game from start to finish. Just outbodied. The Pens, they're just old. You rattle somebody's cage, and who's gonna fight? Bunting, like, come on, the guy's like 4'2". Like, I can't get behind it. And then I was watching the Ottawa Senators play out there, mucking it up, and I'm looking at Saturday's slate, and this is possibly a big midseason matchup. And like you said, the Eastern Conference is just all clogged up. Somebody's got to get in there with a super sprayer and unclog the pipes. And I think it's going to be the Ottawa Senators. This team is just so young and gritty. They're playing the Boston Bruins. And the Bruins, they sent the wrong man money. They just sent the wrong man money. I think you had to keep that goalie tandem for it to work out. And they just don't have a real number one. I hate to say it, they don't got it. They had a 1-2. They just don't got a 1. Ottawa, this Pinto kid, you ever heard of him? Sounds like a car. The guy's a freight train out there. He just gets in everybody's mind. Scores like 9 or 10 goals a game. Stutzel, however he wants me to say it. I'm gonna say it that way. Chuck. Yeah, you already know that guy's chomping on his mouth guard right in front of the net, cross-checking people, getting all the boys involved. Giroux, timeless hero. He's going to lead that team right into the playoffs to just get smoked by Winnipeg first round. So take your Ottawa Senators responsibly over Boston Bruins on Saturday, the 18th. Is that everything, Jenks?
I think that's all we got for one snowy day.
It is. I'm freaking freezing outside. I think I got like 3 inches out there. I got to sweep off.
I got 3 inches just since we've been talking, so snowblower is my next thing.
I'll tell you what. I think I was sliding the whole way down the Erie streets when I was up there. When I was on my way back, I'm like, Christ, I don't even think I went over 5 miles an hour getting out of your neighborhood. It was awful. I was actually scared for my life. No wonder why you keep the audio inside. I'm like, I was scared for my life. Like, if somebody just had pace at one of those intersections, I was toast. I just kept sliding, just kept going.
Dangerous time of year. You just never know what's gonna happen.
Never know.
Be safe, folks.
But make sure to follow us on Instagram and Spotify and YouTube, Black Aces Hockey. And I'm your co-host, Blaine Adams. I'm right here, as always, with your co-host, Nick Jenkins. We're out of here.